And it gets even worse, people. Originally, this ending was set to have none other than Dutch Schaefer be inside this Predator killer suit. And in the originally shot version, it was supposed to be a stunt woman whose identity would be revealed to be that of either Ellen Ripley or the grown-up Newt from Aliens, thus opening the door for a third Alien vs. Predator movie. As if the Alien franchise hadn't already gone down the shitter itself 1 year before the Predator franchise did. Thank God they put a stop on these plans for a Predator cinematic universe while they still could. Although my fingers are crossed that Hulu will start filming soon on She-Predator, Hunter at Law. Folks out there may know about the recent Hulu original movie that serves as a much-needed reboot for the Predator franchise, with his latest hunt on Earth traveling back in time to the 1700s Great Plains to take on a tribe of Comanche Indians, in the prequel known as Prey. And with the film opening with Hulu's biggest debut for a TV show or movie, and the original Predator cast members praising it alongside critics and audiences, perhaps going to streaming will provide far more fertile hunting grounds for the Predator series than the theatrically released sequel which nearly skinned the franchise alive back in 2018, The Predator. While the Robert Rodriguez-produced Predators was a decent hit critically and financially, 20th Century Fox decided that the series needed to start over in a big way for the franchise's fourth installment, by bringing on a writer and director who had some prior experience with these ugly motherfuckers, Shane Black, who in the same year as playing the wisecracking Rick Hawkins in the original Predator, saw his script for a little movie called Lethal Weapon get turned into a mega hit, with Black quitting acting to become one of the highest paid screenwriters of the next decade. And after making a comeback in the 2000s by directing Robert Downey Jr. in the acclaimed neo-noir comedy Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and the mega-hit MCU sequel Iron Man 3, Black had enough clout to come back to the Predator series behind the camera to make a film closer in tone to the first flick's intimate scale. But after the film's disastrous publicity in the wake of studio-mandated reshoots and a convicted sex offender having to be cut out of the film, more on that later, the Predator ended up having plenty of time to bleed after opening to weak box office and terrible reviews, and Shane Black's career met the same fate as Rick Hawkins did at the hands of the Predator. So as a fan of this franchise myself who has enjoyed the underrated sequels and recent prequel, I shall finally take a look at this fourth entry, which nearly revoked the Predator's hunting license. And yes, Arnold said no to making a cameo in this movie, despite Shane Black's personal request.
It's all bullshit! All of it!
No deal.
Because he would instead reprise the role of Dutch for the far better PS4 Predator game, mostly in the form of bonus recordings that sound like Arnold recorded them on an iPhone while taking a shit.
It's hard to believe that I'm still here recording this.
Stop it!
And if you folks subscribe to our channel right now, you will get to see a sneak peek of the upcoming Predator game that brings back both Arnold and Jesse Ventura for an erotic first-person VR adventure.
Fuck me, I'm here! Fuck me! Come on! Do it now! What sexual tyrannosaurus around here? Oh! It's the Conalingus move!
If it bleeds, we can kill it. But if it inebriates, then we can drink it to ensure you stick around for another round of the awfully good drinking game. Take a shot or drink every time you find one or both of this film's Predators floating around in space, as we open on two Predator ships chasing each other through wormholes.
Get the butthole.
And one of the ships crashing down to Earth while the Predator grabs his plot MacGuffin device. Where should this ship crash but in a forest in Mexico, where he interrupts a hostage rescue mission being conducted by the lead hero of our story, an army sniper named Quinn McKenna, played by Boyd Holbrook of Logan and Netflix's Sandman series, and soon set to appear in the next Indiana Jones movie, which I do hope Disney crosses over with the Predator series.
Ain't nobody gonna believe this one.
McKenna gets to examining the crashed spacecraft to find the alien's abandoned faceplate and the cyber wrist gauntlet that McKenna dons on his own arm, which contains the Predator's seemingly endless methods of weaponry, which our hero will need to face off against the invisibility cloaked Predator himself. Oh yeah, the predators love to bathe their faces in the warm blood of their recently killed victims. It helps soothe their murderous rage. But now we've got a secret government group tracking down the recently arrived alien by the name of Project Stargazer, led by Agent Will Traeger, played by Sterling K. Brown.
Gentlemen, remember, they're large, they're fast, and fucking you up's their idea of tourism.
Who is also tracking down the soldier who came into contact with the Predator, who's off swiping free booze using the Predator's invisibility powers, before McKenna has the bartender mail off both the faceplate and the gauntlet over to America, while he tucks the cloaking device up his butthole. Or he just drinks it down with whiskey instead. That works as well. McKenna sends off the alien technology over to the Georgia home of McKenna's estranged ex-wife, Emily, played by Yvonne Strahovski, and their mildly autistic young son, Rory, played by the breakout child star of Room, Jacob Tremblay.
EJ, you hungry?
I'm hungry for an ass burger.
It's a nice, big, juicy ass burger.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that telling a kid you want to eat his ass in the form of burgers is quite the slam dunk you kids seem to think it is.
Oh, yeah.
And if you thought that having the neurotypical Jacob Tremblay playing an autistic kid was this movie's biggest point of online controversy, just wait till we next introduce the female lead of our film, Dr. Casey Brackett, played by Olivia Munn, who's approached by the Stargazer agents so she can go with them over to their secret headquarters and examine the unconscious predator whom they finally caught during his increasingly frequent visits to Earth.
They've been here before. 87, 97.
Dr. Brackett, would you like to meet a predator?
Unfortunately, this movie did have Olivia Munn getting to meet a real-life kind of predator. Because originally she was supposed to be introduced in this movie, walking her dog while fending off the creepy advances of a nearby jogger.
"Seen you around here," he said, extending his hand. Doug trailed after her persistently. "You mean, like, how a man changes when he meets an attractive woman? Maybe his presumed charms were not working on her. What?"
But which was taken out of the movie itself a month before release, after Munn discovered the role was played by Shane Black's longtime friend, Stephen Wilder, who you folks may remember from his best-known role as recently jailed sex offender for soliciting a 14-year-old girl online. And after Munn complained of getting frozen out by the studio and Shane Black for her complaints, Black apologized to Munn and the public for his incredibly unfortunate casting decision. And this would thankfully be the only time that 20th Century Fox accidentally had Olivia Munn work on a movie with a known sex offender.
Whoa.
Thankfully, the majority of this film's casting is far less unfortunate, with Jake Busey in the role of Stargazer's head scientist, Sean Keyes, who indeed is the son of his father Gary Busey's DEA agent character Peter Keyes from Predator 2. Say, Gary Busey, didn't he pop up in the news recently?
You got a big nose, and you're sticking it too far in my business.
And Traeger amusingly explains why he's perhaps the first character in this franchise to actually refer to the Predator as the Predator.
That's not a predator, that's a sports hunter.
Sorry?
More like a bass fisherman.
Well, we took a vote. Predator's cooler, right? Yeah.
I voted that we name it Fred. We know, Fred. That's why you were outvoted. Now shut the fuck up and get back to work. Okay. As for our hero, Quinn McKenna, he's just got himself locked up in government custody so they can find out about his close encounter with this vicious alien.
Like an alien, you mean? That's what you wanted.
And they put McKenna away on an outgoing con bus with some fellow government prisoners. More specifically, a group of PTSD afflicted veterans on their way to a mental hospital.
Group 2. Group therapy room 2.
There I am, stuck in Group 2. The sequel to Group 1, only stupider.
Let us now meet the members of Group 2. Trevante Rhodes is Nebraska, another Army sniper who's nicknamed after his favorite Bruce Dern movie.
Went for the Taliban. Stayed for the opium.
Keegan-Michael Key is Coyle, the wisecracking wild card who eagerly wishes Jordan Peele would call him in for an audition already.
How do you circumcise a homeless man? Kick your mom in the chin. I always stand at attention before I make her.
Thomas Jane is Baxley, the Iraq veteran suffering from the same stereotypical Tourette syndrome as Eric Cartman did out of anger over his rejected script for The Punisher: No Way Home.
Because fuck.
Because we fuck cock.
Fuck you, motherfucker! Alfie Allen is Lich, the Irish explosives expert who's hiding out from getting his head shot in by John Wick over killing his dog.
Just like that.
And Augusto Aguilera as Nettles, a helicopter pilot who loves spouting Christian end times rhetoric and coincidentally looks like Jesus himself.
Is it end times yet?
Yeah, left all you want.
End days. End days. Nettles, if you don't stop with this Bible shit, I'm gonna set you on fire.
Now that we've met the A-Team meets the 1989 Michael Keaton comedy The Dream Team, we head back to the science lab where Dr. Brackett asks to speak with the imprisoned soldier who faced off with this predator, who himself has just awoken from his sleep and quickly gets to unleashing some thankfully bloody slaughter. No, you fools! You've just killed Dr. Ellen Bullet Sponge, just when she was days away from finally perfecting her vaccine against bullets. The bus of veterans arrives at the lab to find the Predator's chaos unfolding, and McKenna talks his fellow army men into taking over the bus by having Coyle and Baxley stage themselves a fight.
If your mom's vagina were a video game, it'd be rated E for everyone.
Oh, snap. Okay, I see how it is.
This freakout isn't over the joke about his mom's pussy. Thomas Jane just got a text from his agent confirming he landed the lead role in Money Plane 2. This time, the plane will be made of actual money.
Money Plane.
They're soon joined by Dr. Brackett, who just had herself a naked close encounter with the Predator in the shower after the Predator had himself an easier time killing Jake Busey than he had with having to kill his dad twice. Unfortunately, the Nintendo Super Scope she's taken from the lab turns out to be a simple dart gun.
I got you, lady. Okay. Let's go. Hey, come on. Sorry.
That's simply wonderful. And it's a perfect visual metaphor for what Olivia Munn's castmates did after the sex offender news had broke.
It's a very lonely feeling to be, you know, sitting here by myself when I should be here with the rest of the cast.
Sorry.
Obviously, Shane Black is leaning hard into his signature sense of humor here, now that the Predator is hunting in a part of the world far less exotic than a rainforest or Los Angeles.
Everything okay back there?
You fucking guys.
This is because Black co-wrote the script with his Monster Squad co-writer, Fred Decker, 25 years after Decker quit Hollywood in the wake of RoboCop 3's failure. In fact, the Predator shares a Halloween setting in common with the Monster Squad, instead of Black's otherwise frequent use of the Christmas holiday, setting up a clever gag where McKenna arrives at his old home to find the alien technology he sent has ended up in his son's hands, who's using the faceplate and gauntlet as his Halloween costume to hide out from his ass-hungry bullies.
What are you supposed to be? Leave me alone.
Here's a treat, you little shit.
That's right, you little pukes. Tremble before trembling! Though I like the idea of Shane Black revisiting 2 of the 3 movies that helped launch his career 30 years ago, with clever references to original Predator producer Lawrence Gordon and stunt coordinator Craig Baxley, on top of some not-so-clever references to the first film's quotable dialogue.
You're one beautiful motherfucker.
One ugly motherfucker.
Get to the choppers.
Get to the chopper!
This is when the movie turns to loud CGI garbage, with the introduction of the second The Predator of the film, aka the Ultimate Predator. While that first Predator who wants to take his MacGuffin device back happens to be augmented with human DNA, the second Ultimate Predator who's been sent down to hunt this fugitive Predator has had his body juiced up with the DNA of a whole bunch of other species. And the same goes for his 2 Predator hounds who accompany him along on this hunt. We've gone from the cool-looking hellhounds from the last Predator movie to these Predator hounds that look like a cross between Ang Lee's Hulk dogs and the CGI from the first She-Hulk trailer. And though one of these dogs survives getting shot in the head by Nebraska and just walks off into the sunset, more on that later, the smaller fugitive Predator will certainly not survive his fight at the hands of the Ultimate Predator. Aw, damn it, this isn't the DLC for the new Mortal Kombat game, is it? For fuck's sake, I wasted a perfectly good fatality on this little pipsqueak! So Shane Black clearly wants these characters to evoke memories of Black and his macho castmates from the original Predator. And he does sometimes succeed in that goal with the movie's often funny dialogue.
You know who Whoopi Goldberg is? It's like an alien Whoopi Goldberg.
Okay.
The solid cast here sells these guys veering from serious discussion about their PTSD struggles to having some fun at Olivia Munn's expense when she wakes up with them at a sleazy hotel.
Sure, hey! Oh, I told you she'd grab it. $10, pay up. I told you she'd pull the trigger!
Another perfect visual metaphor for how horny nerds used to watch Olivia Munn back in her G4 days. Unfortunately, the least interesting character among them is supposed to be their leader, as all the most interesting things about Quinn McKenna are told to us not by him, but rather his ex-wife.
He's a security counter sniper. He supervised 23 close precision engagements across 5 continents, and he has 13 confirmed kills. And he is one of only 14 captains in the armed forces to ever receive a Distinguished Service Medal and the Silver Star.
Everybody got that?
Basically, your husband is the subject of an Amazon original series that stars either Chris Pratt, John Krasinski, or Jack Reacharound. Good to know. Not that I care. As for Jacob Tremblay as Quinn's estranged son, I would prefer that this part be played by a perfectly willing young actor who has autism themselves, but Tremblay does a good job here, especially in the emotional scenes alongside his father. But then Olivia Munn fucks it all up with one line of dialogue.
You know, a lot of experts say that being on the spectrum isn't really a disorder. It's actually the next step in the evolutionary chain.
Bitch, are you for real?
You heard her right, folks. Autism is indeed the next step in the evolutionary chain, and everyone who's diagnosed with it has the potential to become a future X-Men. Look, the stereotype that having autism equals you being a super genius is stupid enough as it is, so I applaud this movie for somehow managing to make it even stupider. And hey, that predator dog who got shot in the head came back to serve as an animal pal to our heroes.
What the fuck is he gonna do?
What are we doing with it?
We're gonna study it.
What's to learn? Seb Williams sucks at shooting shit in the head.
Because Nebraska's experience with surviving a bullet to his head clearly works the exact same way when applied to the brain of a giant alien dog beast. Then that crusty old Will Traeger and his men catch up with the escaped vets, and Traeger reveals to Dr. Brackett the true motivation behind the Predator's increasingly frequent visits to Earth. Twinkie shortages.
You remember a few years back when Hostess went bust? There was a run on Twinkies.
Or no, I'm sorry, I meant climate change. That's also bad as well.
How long before climate change renders this planet unlivable?
They're trying to snap up all of our best DNA before we're gone.
They thrive in a hothouse environment.
Now, while the topic of climate change does fit into Predator 2's predictions of a future Los Angeles beset by increasing heat waves, the way this movie has wedged it into the already busy plot is the same way Dennis Reynolds wrote climate change into the script for Lethal Weapon 7.
Riggs and Murtaugh start to shoot out a path so that the tidal wave moves to a field that's been decimated by climate change.
That doesn't even make any sense.
How about we let Arnold save the Earth from climate change, while Sterling K. Brown saves this movie from taking itself too seriously? The guy is clearly having fun playing up the evil military man character archetype, complete with a series of hilarious evil laughs.
That's what the fuck it is.
And just when McKenna and the vets arrive at the site of the Ultimate Predator's crashed spaceship to recover the boy from Traeger's grasp, the Ultimate Predator himself arrives to give Theon Greyjoy's arm the Carl Weathers treatment and serves up some greasy death. I applaud this movie's embrace of bloody violence, but I can't even tell what's going on here, with this shaky camera work and quick cut editing that looks like the editor just had his dog chew up the film print.
I detect one among you who is a true warrior, the one called McKenna. He will be your leader. He will be my prize.
Boy, I'm sure that the Predator is totally referring to our movie's hero instead of his son with the same last name, even though that this movie's already established that this kid's autism practically makes him one Kate Bush song away from being on the next season of Stranger Things. And so the hunt is on for our heroes against the Ultimate Predator, where Shane Black finally attempts to emulate the claustrophobic terror we expect from these movies. But that certainly wasn't true of the film's originally planned third act, where leaked set photos show our heroes hanging with another arrived good guy Predator, who would help them take on even more genetically altered Predator hybrids, on top of Edward James Olmos popping up as an army general working for Stargazer. However, poor test screenings and internet outcry over these silly-looking set pictures convinced the execs at Fox to bring Shane and his cast back for a third-act reshoot, and yet it still suffers from the same problem as the rest of the movie's action. Instead of being shot in the daylight, it's now shot in the murky-looking dark, and the editing gives us no time to even know which character has just been killed.
Traeger!
I had to go back through that scene 3 times to know for sure that it was Sterling K. Brown who just died there. We next see Baxley getting speared onto a tree branch and Coyle getting his guts cut out by the Predator. And these two friends put each other out of misery in admittedly badass fashion.
That would be my shit!
But then comes the big plot revelation, which the rest of us saw coming from a mile away.
You wanted me?
No, the next step in the evolutionary chain. Your son.
We're now dealing with a super predator who is trying to kidnap an autistic child from Earth so as to genetically modify his body with the child's sweet autism juices. Just letting you folks know this so you can be assured that you're not just having a brain aneurysm. And with Quinn and his 2 surviving pals jumping aboard the Predator's ship to save his son, it now feels more like I'm watching a Marvel movie, as if Shane Black had just switched back into Iron Man 3 mode, with both Nettles and Nebraska dying from getting caught in the Predator ship's regenerating armor. After one last video game looking fight between the Predator and both McKenna and Dr. Brackett, who by the way does know how to operate all this alien technology and heavy military weaponry despite being an evolutionary biologist,
Grow a dick, will ya?
the ultimate Predator is finally brought down for good.
What are you?
Well, I'm glad you asked. My friends usually like to call me
Shut the
Spanky.
fuck up.
Oh, damn it, you didn't really care about my well-being, you dick. Now that the Predator is dead, and McKenna gets to properly mourn his dead military buddies, we cut sometime later to an epilogue that feels every bit like a last-minute reshoot. Quinn is now decked out in his military garb to come visit his son at a military lab where he's trying to help the scientists unlock the mysterious cargo on the fugitive Predator ship, a metallic device that latches onto some poor scientist's body and puts him inside the Predator killer suit, which the Predator wanted the humans to have so they could take on the rest of the super predators who are approaching towards Earth.
What the hell is that? That's my new suit, Bubba. I hope they got it in 42 long.
You gotta be fucking kidding. Yeah, I know that was a quote from the wrong 80s sci-fi movie, but you really gotta be kidding. That was the ending? They revealed an Iron Man suit they had this whole time right at the end to set up a sequel that's never going to fucking happen? And it gets even worse, people. Originally, this ending was set to have none other than Dutch Schaefer be inside this Predator killer suit. And in the originally shot version, it was supposed to be a stunt woman whose identity would be revealed to be that of either Ellen Ripley or the grown-up Newt from Aliens, thus opening the door for a third Alien vs. Predator movie. As if the Alien franchise hadn't already gone down the shitter itself 1 year before the Predator franchise did. Thank God they put a stop on these plans for a Predator cinematic universe while they still could. Although my fingers are crossed that Hulu will start filming soon on She-Predator, Hunter at Law. Though Shane Black hasn't gotten any jobs yet in the 4 years since the Predator's failure, the guy is still an incredible talent who needs to go back to the basics that made Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Nice Guys so good. It's obvious he and Fred Decker want to make a supersized Predator movie that will keep up with all the Marvel-type blockbusters that kids love nowadays. But their script is totally all over the place, their characters have too little substance, and the CGI is too often below par. This is why Prey was such a hit. It stripped down this series to its bare essentials, while The Predator loads up on way too much. It's not without dumb fun to be had and fun kills to be seen, but it's still a mess. And definitely the worst movie of this franchise that isn't AVP Requiem. Why not let Shane Black have a second chance with The Predator's next time-traveling prequel, and take The Predator back to Shane's familiar territory of 80s era buddy cop comedy? Now there's the Alien Predator crossover that we should have gotten in the first place. On the enjoyableness continuum scale from Bull to Bruce, The Predator will have you wishing that Bill Duke had come back to direct this movie instead, but has itself some fun tonight with a 6 out of 10. What's the matter, Shane Black? You've been pushing too many pencils? I'm Jesse Shade for JoBlo.com, and thanks again for watching our show. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the JoBlo Originals channel. Tell all your friends who like this sort of content, and turn on the bell to receive notifications for all of our latest videos. We are an independent company that appreciates all of your support. And Arnold, if you're watching, the offer still stands for you to return to this franchise whenever you're ready for a rematch.
You son of a bitch!